A very good evening to you and welcome to this week's last episode of The Watchdog. My name is Vuyo Mvogo, and on the show tonight we are in conversation with the National Police Commissioner who has been in the job for about 5 months now, and today, together with the Minister of Police, they released the last available crime statistics. The Watchdog starts now. Good evening. Thanks very much for your time.
Thanks. Good evening. It's general.
Well.
General. Thanks.
It's been 5 months now since you were appointed as the National Commissioner. How has it been? Have you found your feet, so to speak?
Yeah, thanks, viewer, and your viewers and listeners. Yeah, no, I do. I have found my feet, and we are moving forward as South African Police Service with the management team that I have. I think we are progressing quite well. Yes, South Africa is experiencing quite a lot of challenges with regard to crime, but we are making inroads despite the current challenges that you're also aware of that are out there.
Any surprises, anything that perhaps you may not have had an appreciation of before you took on the job?
Well, the type of job that I was doing before I took up this one was quite a hectic post, an operational post. So it is more similar, a little bit intense, but it's more or less a similar job.
It adequately prepared you for what you have to do now?
Yeah, I think it did prepare me for what I'm facing now, to take over the organization of this magnitude with a number of police and the number of the population that we have in South Africa, and of course those others that are either legal or illegal visitors in the country.
A new phenomenon after you took over, the horror we've been seeing coming out of shebeens, the random shootings, alcohol poisoning, stampedes, coming out of shebeens, taverns. Has it been a baptism of fire for you, would you say?
Well, indeed, yes. Those incidents, yes. Well, it was, in a way, baptism of fire, that we had so many shootings at shebeens, especially Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal and Eastern Cape. But we were able to rise up to the occasion as South African Police Service in a number of these tavern or entertainment place shootings. We were able to make some arrests in KwaZulu-Natal. We have made some arrests. Even in Gauteng, in all the incidences, we have made arrests in the Alexandra one, Katlehong. Basically, it's only the Orlando one that we have not yet made an arrest, but we know who we are looking for, and we are definitely sure we'll be able to make a breakthrough there. In the Eastern Cape one, we are still waiting for the results of the post-mortem, the cause of death from the Department of Health, so that we know how we move forward, whether the case remains an inquest or we change it to murder. So yes, it was a baptism, but as South African Police Service, we did rise to the occasion, and I think we did our best. But of course, also we ask our communities also to help us. If you go for entertainment, you should basically go for that, not something else. You can't be armed going to an entertainment place. So yeah.
But are you any wiser now than perhaps you were before this phenomenon started, as to what lies behind it? Have you been able to put a finger on that?
We have an idea the cause of these shootings. First thing, the shootings are not organized. Some of the shootings where a specific person was targeted, and some is people that are fighting. In one of the incidences, there was a fight at one tavern, and the next shooting was a revenge. So that's what we picked up. And what we still don't know, especially the first one of the one at Eastern Cape. So that one we really don't know there. We can't speculate. We don't know what happened, what killed those kids. So until we know, until the results comes, we'll know what is happening. But the other shootings, people, they were coming with some hypotheses and theories, but basically there's no terrorism, there's nothing organized. Those shootings, the ones in Gauteng are not related to the other provinces. They were just shootings that happened for motives will come out of court, of course, but preliminary we have seen that these shootings are not organized. One of them we know it was more about a revenge sort of, and some were purely robberies. People just go out, rob people and start shooting at people.
But I mean, when everything has been said and done, would you say that the police are now perhaps better prepared for, God forbid, if these incidents or such incidents were to happen again?
Yeah, as South African Police Service, we do have a plan to combat crime, which we are implementing, which we have been implementing. We strengthen our plan. One of the areas is to enforce compliance. Compliance in terms of your liquor licenses, enforcement of compliance in terms of your firearm ownership, as well as firearm dealers, because most common cause or generator of crime in this country is mostly your alcohol and your firearms, proliferation of firearms. So we, with compliance in terms of especially firearm owners, dealers, security companies, we definitely think we'll be able to bring the level of crime down, so that we bring accountability to those that owns a firearm, because it's not always illegal firearms that are being used in crime. Also legal firearms are being used, and some of these firearms, they get lost. From being legal, they get lost, they become illegal firearms, and they become used in the commission of crime. So we are quite better prepared with the resources, limited resources that we have. We are able to make sure that we combat crime. We do operations countrywide. We do roadblocks, and we have gained a number of successes as we were moving along in terms of confiscation of firearms, drugs, and we'll continue doing so. And communities, some communities, they do come up to assist us. But also what the community should also assist doing is that whenever they see crime happening, they should be able to come forward and report. But there are areas where you will see crime happening. You might not necessarily be an informer. You will have to be a witness. For example, if somebody comes to your house still, and you see the person, or somebody, not you, sees the person stealing, that person is not necessarily an informer. He's a witness because he's the one that's have seen the deed happening, and without that person, it's not going to be easy. Yes, correct.
Now, when you say you're going to enforce compliance, you're not saying that because that's the right thing to do. In other words, you have actually issued directives. Your men and women in blue know that this is what they're going to have to do going forward. Make sure that shebeens, clubs or whatever, like close on time, that people are searched, the safety of the patrons is guaranteed. All those things are going to happen because your police are going to be out there to ensure that that indeed happens.
Yeah, the police will be out there making sure that we enforce compliance. Yes, you close on time, you don't have underage people at tavern or drinking places, but we are not going to be solely at taverns. Our responsibilities is quite wide in terms of fighting crime.
Clubs and
yes, we have got quite a bigger responsibility in terms of fighting crime. We can't always stay at taverns, but we will have now and then have capacity that will ensure that we go to these taverns, ensure that they close on time, they don't have underage people. The same with places that are dealing in firearms. We'll make sure that we check their books, ensure that they've got the right stock levels in terms of firearms and ammunition. Also security companies and other institutions, make sure that we check their firearms, ammunition, they have got their books are right. Where there is shortages, we do open cases. We do find, yes, some security companies that we have already bring to book where we find some missing firearms with them.
The zama-zamas, another phenomenon that exploded in front of you most recently, and questions are being asked about the police's effectiveness in dealing with that particular phenomenon.
The matter of zama-zamas, we did not start dealing with zama-zamas now. It has been a problem for quite some time. We started in 2019 when we experienced this in the Goldfields Welcome. We started a task team there which became quite successful, and unfortunately they came from the bottom. They came on the surface. We arrested quite a lot, but those that were on the surface, they start damaging, municipal infrastructure and so on and so on. But we continued, and we also second teams we established was in Northwest around Orkney area, and we had one team in Gauteng, and we also have a team in Bekersfort, in Limpopo and Mpumalanga. So we will continue fighting crime within the mining environment, because you do not only have it on the disused mines, you also find it within the mines that are still operating, where the personnel of the mines, they are not doing what they're supposed to do. So yes, we've got quite a big number of them, but they will continue removing those illegal.
But I have all those teams, spread all over, given you the kind of intelligence you need, but also the sort of operational effectiveness that you need to be able to deal with this phenomenon if it escalates, because it looks like it's bound to escalate. When you look at some of the figures, the monies that are being mentioned, it's quite a lucrative business that unemployed young people in particular would risk everything and anything to get involved in.
Yeah, no, it is true. Hence, we have now established we have beefed up these current teams that they should focus both at the various areas. Your mining is one of them. Your theft of copper is one of them. Your damage to Eskom, Plaza and Transnet infrastructure is one of them. So we're going to have this team focusing a lot on zama-zamas and all these other crimes, because they cut across the same zama-zamas. If they are not in the disused mines, they go over to steal infrastructure, be it Eskom or Transnet. So these teams will be dealing with that continuously. We are aware that there are quite a big number, yes, in the country, and mostly are illegal. But and as we take them, the Department of Home Affairs, because we don't work alone, our teams are in multidisciplinary, integrated with NPA, your Home Affairs, as they take them from their countries of origin. Some of them comes back, but what is assisting also is that Home Affairs now, as they process them, they take fingerprints so that we can be able to know if the same person do come back.
But are other departments like your mineral and energy department also like actively involved? Was part of the problem is that, for instance, you mentioned that it's not just disused mines, you know, it's also mines that are supposedly operational. But are those people being held to account because they do have license conditions?
Yes, they do have those license conditions which we might not always be aware of, but we have brought in the Mining Council of South Africa and the DMR. For some time we have been working on looking at what more can be done, especially when you come to policing. Which areas of the legislation needs to be improved? We have a team that is working on that. But of course, we would want the Mining Council and the DMRE to come up and hold account the owners of those mines, so that once a mine is sealed, it can be open again. So it remains a challenge, but it's a challenge that requires all of us to work together and in dealing with. We also have got organized crime, the NPA or DPCI, working towards to know where is the products that are getting out of the mines, where are they being sold? Because if we can close that market, then it means there will be no more need on the ground. The Zamazamas won't be able to have a market where they are selling this gold.
Of course, I mean, we're not only talking about organized crime, we're not only talking about, illegal foreign nationals that can be traced, for the purposes of dealing with the crimes that they may commit. There are other attendant crimes. As the past couple of weeks, exposed, there were those people who raped, those women who were shooting videos there. But apparently there's also a culture of these guys enslaving local women, get them to bring them food, they stay with them underground for days on end, raping them and doing all sorts of things. I don't know if your teams have gotten to the bottom of that particular problem as well.
Yes, with view what we are dealing with, yes, is we're focusing on the Zamazamas. There are some settlements, informal settlements, that consist of these specific areas. We do go out there, make sure that we clean up those areas, we search those areas, and of course make sure that if they are of our local or communities or any other women that have got cases, we do open cases. And yeah, it's unfortunately the incident of Krugersdorp. We have to do after everything has happened, the rape have happened, but we are doing progress. In that case, we have charged 14 people up to so far. That has been identified through identification parade. We are waiting for your forensic results, and from there we'll take the case on. But of course, in general, wherever we find that, we met a couple of communities, especially in Gauteng, where they are saying they live in fear about these people. And of course, the local community cry of the local police that they allege that they are corrupt with these Zamazamas. And we have intensified also measures to make sure that our anti-corruption get into the space, so that if we find any corrupt police, we clean them up, we deal them just like with any other criminal. But we will continue having these teams working on this on a concerted effort until at least our communities feel safe from this illicit or Zamazamas.
A few days ago, Commissioner, the people of Marikana, together with a lot of communities and people around the country, commemorated the 10th anniversary of the Marikana massacre, which remains one of the most shameful episodes of, in our country, in as far as policing is concerned in a democratic South Africa. According to a statement, and I'm going to quote it, released by the President's office a few days ago, ahead of the commemorative events, and I quote, "The killings should never have happened," close quotes. Yet 10 years after the massacre, we're still talking about the fact that the Falam Commission recommendations have still not been implemented.
With regard to the recommendations, of course, you should take note, yes, I've been in the police, part of management, and I've been moving across the country, but however, I'm aware that a number of recommendations have been implemented. Of course, there are areas where there might be financial constraints, but I know that the little public order that has been there, we bought resources, we started increasing the numbers of public order police, and even this year we are out of the 10,000, we're increasing public order with about 4,000, and the resources that the commission recommended that we buy, we are buying it. And with regard to what disciplinary measures has been done to those police, quite a number of police have underwent disciplinary cases. Some of them are parting those disciplinary cases in the metal and they resign. And of course, the criminal cases are not done by SABC, they are done by the IPID. For us was to deal with the disciplinary cases, which I know that most of them were done. Some police resigned, and but we are resourcing the environment in terms of buying them vehicles, technology. We are not yet there where we want to be, but I'm sure we will get there at some point. I'm aware that civil claims, the Office of the Solicitor General and the Office of SABC, Legal Services and State Attorney are busy with that. They make offerings. Some of the claims have been paid. Some I know that they are still under processing by those respective role players.
I'm glad you sort of gave that sort of overall picture, Commissioner, but if I may, I just want to drill down on a couple of areas, precisely because they have a bearing in how people perceive police, but also whether or not people think you're making progress in some of these areas. You spoke about how some police opt out of the service while disciplinary or once disciplinary proceedings are initiated. But have you successfully dealt, with the sort of very specific cases? In other words, where people have had to, be taken out of the system, or some really they had to face some real consequences for their actions post Marikana. Has that happened? Maybe some of those things I'll have to check, especially with the Northwest Province. But I know that disciplinary cases were taken, and some of the people, yes, as I said, they opted out, some were arrested, they left the service. There was no more need then to take disciplinary action against them after they have left the service. So that's what I'm aware of. But to get to specifics, one will have to get the data in terms of the specifics. Mm-hmm. Public policing is another aspects, of your work that came under scrutiny post Marikana, and of course, addressing, the problems that were identified there, influences the way people see whether you have or are making progress and what they can expect in future. For example, the Falam Commission recommended the establishment of a panel of experts to explore alternative methods of crowd management. The July unrest also brought this into sharp focus. So the question is whether that panel was indeed established, and whether there has been any rethink of the way police have in the past, used your stun grenades, your tear gas, and even live ammunition?
Yeah, thanks, the panel of experts was established, which consisted various local and foreign experts, and we do have a committee that is on the process implementing those recommendations. I actually said we need to include some of them in the implementation committee of SABC, and we are working on the recommendation. Most of the recommendations we have finalized. Some we are still procuring what we require to have, and in certain areas as well there might have been some agreement on certain things, but in majority we have bought that which we have bought. We have spent more than 600 million buying new water cannons, buying protection for police members, buying non-lethal weapons like tear smoke and rubber bullets and so on. So we did quite a lot, but we are not yet there where we want to be. And of course, as I said, public order policing is a game of numbers. If you know where we were a couple of years ago, 99, 98, we were over 10,000, and due to various decisions by the then management, the figures were reduced up to 4,000. So we are busy increasing those numbers, because in public order you need the numbers. You don't need, if there is no numbers, yes, you might end up using more force, which might not be the case if you have the numbers. So we are busy with buying both the resources and increasing the numbers, and we will get there. We still need to procure quite a lot of technology around the space, and I think we are on the right track.
When you say you're looking at bringing on board or including the experts in the implementation committee, is that because you only thought about that later, or is it because perhaps there's been resistance from some of your men and women to that idea?
No. After they finalized the report, as we were implementing, at some point we regularly meet them, and as we meet them, we realize that it will not assist if we implement while they are far distance, because as we meet to come and say, come and check this, how far we are, we found that yes, there are some areas where there is maybe they don't see the head of public order to say, let's see if we can have some members of the committee to be part of the team and move with us, so that we can they can be part of the implementation committee, not implement some of the things which you might end up buying things, and when you meet them to say to update them, it's just a courtesy that we update them so that we know where we are going, and to find that they say, but certain things, that's the way they didn't think it should be done. So it will be better if they move along with the SABC implementation committee.
But there is no form of resistance from the top echelons of the police, given the origins, of these proposals, that it all came out of the Marikana episode, and there's a different disposition, especially certainly among, government departments, ministers and officials, about what actually happened, how it happened, the fact that police were also, killed, in Marikana ahead of the massacre. In other words, there is no resistance to the implementation of the Falam recommendations on the basis that, they came from that ugly episode, but which many within government don't really share or don't think, is the attention that this issue should be getting.
No, there is no resistance at all from the members of SABC that I have seen, or that are part of that committee. there is no resistance. It's just that they might view certain things differently. For example, the use of rubber bullet, they might have different views on it. Vis-a-vis, maybe you use tear smoke or you use water, so, and the type of rubber bullet you use. So there has been those discussions. Some say no, don't use the rubber bullet anymore in the future. And we said, well, going out in the market, look as to what else can we, yes, what else can you find and use. So there has been not been resistance, and it is the police actually that also played quite a big role in assisting the panel of experts, and they were open and frank with them. There was never a resistance at all.
Well, we're in conversation with the National Police Commissioner, and up next we talk about the statistics that the Commissioner and the Minister of Police released today. Welcome back. This is the Watchdog, and we've been in conversation with the National Police Commissioner. He's been 5 months in the job, and today he also released statistics, crime statistics for the period covering April to June. Commissioner, a drop of over 800 cases of sexual offenses such as rape and sexual assault, and this, of course, being Women's Month. This matter has again, been raised in several fora. People generally feeling that it's actually getting worse instead of getting better.
All right, thanks, Vio. Yes, we do accept what the society will be saying, that it's getting worse than better. But as South African Police Service, we can only work with the statistics that we have. It shows a drop. Yes, I'm aware that some of the society will say it's because people did not report the crime.
But that's true, isn't it? Because we're only dealing with crimes that have been reported, and yes, we know the problem of underreporting as well.
We deal only with that which is reported to the police. That which is not reported, we will not know. And but we, as the police, we are trying our best and making sure that these crimes, after they happen, we do make sure that we take action by making sure that we investigate them. I must say that the FCS unit of the SABS is very quite successful in this area of sexual offenses and GBV. Their conviction rate is quite good. It's one unit that have got more than 5,000 lives in their conviction. We are aware, yes, that there might be crimes that have not been reported, and there are, not all police do chase people at police station. Those that do chase people when they come to report crime, we deal with them decisively, and communities should assist us to report such police that says people should not report GBV. We do take action against them, and but yes, that's the figure, that statistics that we have now that went down. We also think that the sentences that we are being meted out in this also send a message to those perpetrators that they should desist from doing this.
So you're relying on the success rate in both convictions and sentencing to then determine whether or not you are successful. Let me tell you why I asked, because this was going to be my next question, was when the minister said this earlier, and attributed, the decline to the fact that the Child Protection and Sexual Offences Unit was doing a good job. The first thing that sprang, in my mind was, but on what basis, on what scientific basis does or can anybody say a big part, of what we are seeing is due to the Child Protection and Sexual Offences Unit doing a good job?
That's what we have currently. As I said, there's one unit in SABC that is quite very successful in terms of conviction rate. We might not attribute that only to that. If there is underreporting, unfortunately, we do not know. But we continuously, both with the minister and the provincial commissioners, we do go out to communities to encourage them to report this type of crimes. And communities do come out, they do report. Now and then, yes, we pick up where members of the community to say we have been chased from police station, and if we get such calls, we take drastic steps against those police. But we say yes, that unit is working quite well. We don't say this decline will be sustainable because crime fluctuates. It's not always at the same level. We would love it to continuously decrease. We would love that GBV at all be something that is no more there, but we need the society to assist us, because most of the GBV don't happen always there out in the public. It happens where the victim stays or where the perpetrator stays, meaning people might walk on the street being good friends, and until they get where they stay, and these things happen. So the communities should assist us, the family units should assist us, from parents, that's where it starts, to school, to church. Those are the units that the society at large that must assist us to reduce this type of crime. It cannot only be we cannot only throw it to the police. It's a holistic approach that you must approach it. There are some areas within the country where people still believe in what is called uktwala, where a lady or a girl can be taken over. So communities in such areas, they should come out and report. And also, it's important that as a society we deal with the grooming up of a boy child, because if we get the boy child correct, to be groomed up correctly, by the time he become a man, he'll be a different man.
I mean, the other day I was speaking to the Deputy Justice Minister, on the back, of course, of those 3 pieces of legislation that the President recently signed into law. And, among the things we're agreeing with is that those laws in themselves, no matter how, far-reaching, they may be, at the end of the day, it's about implementation, because they can't implement themselves. I guess the question then is whether, your service is actually, up to, the job. They are aware of what is expected of them, and they are ready, willing and able to actually do or play their part in the whole chain, because at the end of the day, it's a criminal justice system issue, but also community, business, and other people also should be involved. But can you vouch for their level and state of readiness to do or to play their part?
South African Police Service is ready to implement the new amendment laws, the legislation that has been brought into operation recently. But of course, one of the legislation I know, I think, is the domestic violence. There is still some regulations that needs to be promulgated, and after that, we need to then update the whole police force. You cannot train them in one day. We're going to train the whole police force in the updated legislation, and from there we implement as we go along. So that we are ready, and we continuously keep training the police in terms of this new legislation that comes in, or whenever it gets amended. So we are ready, and we will be ready to implement the legislation, and we will continuously make sure that we train our police. Recently, we implemented gender-based violence at police stations. All what we are saying is that as you get to the police station, don't queue with people that are coming there to certify documents. If you are there to report a GBV, go to where you see is written a GBV desk. It's not to say you are going to be assisted at that point. It's just an indication that you came for GBV, and then from there you'll be taken to a victim-friendly room, which we do have at most of the police stations. Not all police stations we have these rooms, but majority of them we have. There's about 100 or so that we still don't have, but we do get some temporary accommodations in terms of park rooms, as we are not responsible for building. Is another department that is responsible for that, but we do buy some mobile housings that assist the society, so that we take care of them there, take statements and so on and so on.
Well, with regard to murders, it's the opposite of what your numbers are telling us around gender-based violence. Murders remain high. We're talking an increase of more than 600 this time around.
Yes, we have seen the murders have increased, and out of the increase, there is quite a number of them that happen in public, but there is also more than half that also happen indoors. We do our best to always be there, but those crimes that happen indoors, there is basically no way police could have prevented them. But in public, yes, we do our best to make sure that we prevent where we can and investigate if this crime have already happened. But we have seen that there is an increase in murder, and the plans that we have put now in place, which we said, let's deal with the generators of these crimes of murder, because some of them are organized, some of them are opportunistic or happen out of, we have seen most murders come out of disagreement and where people have got some arguments, which means it's people that knows each other, probably they have grudges against one another. But the generators, mostly you find that it's either liquor or some disagreement at home and so on. But those that happen as a result of liquor, as a result of firearm, that's why we say we want to deal with the generators of the liquor, and we hope the society will also understand that when we do compliance at the liquor places, they should be cooperative, because at the end of the day we do it to save their lives.
Do we know why KwaZulu-Natal is the murder capital? Is there something unique about the province?
Well, it's unfortunate. Historically, it has been like that. We don't want to label that maybe the people have got something in them, but yes, there is a lot of murders in KwaZulu-Natal, but also a lot of proliferation of firearms in that province. So we will make sure we pick up our efforts continuously. There's quite a lot of causes in KwaZulu-Natal. You have taxi violence, now and then you have got your murders coming out of stock theft, and some, of course, are those that happens indoors. But it is a province that have got quite a lot of firearms. We confiscate a lot of firearms in there, so probably the number of firearms contribute to the murders.
I want to talk also, Commissioner, about accountability and integrity. I mean, whether we're talking about, some of the stuff we spoke about earlier. Take Marikana, for example, because people think that, or say, the reason you still have this thing hanging, it's because there has been no accountability. Fast forward to 2022, there's the Palapala farm saga of the president. And there again, issues of accountability have been thrown up. Whether, for instance, he reported to whoever who then did what with the information, that they were given, to, allegations of defeating the ends of justice, kidnapping, also leveled among others members of the police. Does the issue of integrity and accountability matter to you? And from just the couple of instances I've quoted now, is it something you're putting a great deal of effort into, making sure that South Africans can't be left with that impression that you still have people who are not accountable to anybody, who don't do the right thing?
Yeah, we as South African Police Service, we do have a number of policies, and one of the policies is the issues around ethics. We do have ethics committee, and we do take people to account when there is an allegation. It gets investigated, and either you get cleared or you get charged. So we do not leave matters hanging. With regard to Palapala, saw it on the media. They were saying Masemola authorized, Masemola sent helicopters, he sent special task force. Unfortunately, it is the media that says that. And when I started asking, but what is this? And we all picked this up after the case has been opened. And that case was transferred. It's now investigated by the DPCI. But the fact of the matter is Masemola knew nothing about Palapala. The first time Masemola knew about Palapala is when it was in the media. I went back to check records. I find no special task force that was deployed to Palapala from 1st of January 2020 to 31st of December 2020. There's nothing. There's no chopper, nothing. The people that deployed is your presidential protection unit, which is their mandate to be there. And of course, they're different units. You have your static, you have got your counter-assault teams. There are various teams. They are the ones that deploy there. And so we can account. Of course, the head of presidential protection unit, we are busy, appointed somebody to look into the matters departmentally, while the DPCI, they are busy with the investigation of the criminal case. Obviously, there will be cooperation between the criminal and the departmental. But there's nothing, from SABS, there's nothing we're hiding. And what we discovered, which is not a secret, we can put it in the open, is that somewhere in October 2020, there were social media posts that were going around to say there are some right-wing elements that want to ban the farm of the president. And as a result, the then head of crime intelligence, General Jacobs, he went to the farm. He tasked his people to go and do security assessment, and they went. They came back. The report is there where they said no. They heard about this banning of farms of president. They investigated. They can't find anything substantiated. That's the only people that went there. I think he sent 2 or 3 people and himself. That was in October 2020. He went there, he investigated, he came back. That's the only, beside the presidential protection unit that works there, the people additional went there. It was General Jacobs and his crime intelligence operative going to investigate the matter around the banning of farms. And there is a report to that effect. Before that, there is no helicopter that went there. Well, I must say the Presidential Protection Unit, they have got authority. If they go wherever, they can take, they can ask for a chopper to transport their own members to anywhere. They are members of SABS. They can ask a police chopper to transport them somewhere else and back. If they go countries where the security is questionable, they can take any aircraft of the SAPS, fly with a presidential jet to that place, make sure they do advance, and make sure also they do their security protection and come back. There's nothing wrong with it. But
so, at a personal level, you were never involved in anything that has to do with the Palapala saga?
I was never involved in anything.
And from briefings you got from your deputies or anybody at the most senior level, the police were never involved outside of the allegations being leveled at the presidential unit?
Up to so far, what I get, there is nobody except what I'm telling you that happened in October. There is nothing. It's only the presidential protection unit that has been there. And other than that, I must also say, Vuyo, the structure of SAPS is such that the presidential protection unit head report to the national commissioner. And by that time, I was a deputy national commissioner. The only time I meet the unit is when we do events like your, let's say, is a summit or is a event of a conference in nature. That's the only time we get interaction with. So if ever there is anything that the head of the presidential unit reports, you will report to the national commissioner then.
Given that you mentioned him, General, I have to ask you this. What is the status of General Jacobs now vis-a-vis crime intelligence?
General Jacobs is still currently head of the inspectorate, and there are some matters that we are dealing with. I can't guarantee whether he will go back or he won't go back, because there are some legal matters that we are dealing with. But with regard to crime intelligence, we are moving forward with a view to stabilize that environment, to appoint some senior managers there and get the environment stabilized.
Is he still the head?
No. Remember, he was removed during my predecessor's time. He's heading a division we call National Inspectorate. That's where he is currently.
Okay. But he's an active member of that inspectorate?
Correct, yes. He's at work, he does work.
Is he fighting to go back?
No.
To crime intelligence?
He's not fighting to go back. He was fighting, he would have taken himself back. No, he's not fighting to go back. He's just there, and we have to allow certain processes to take its course.
We'll leave it there. Let me thank you very much for your time, General. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks to you.
And that's our show for tonight. Have a good night and a great weekend.